Hello everybody, it's Wyvern here with another bit of Total War Warhammer 2 Quick Match gameplay. This time around we are on the River Amazon map, playing as the High Elves against the Empire. And this has what used to be basically a decisively High Elf dominated matchup. I think has actually shifted a bit in favor of the Empire recently, more and more with all the Empire buffs and the people starting to get better and better at using Empire Heavy Cav to just run a roughshod over the High Elf backlines. I think this has become a little bit of a rough matchup, so going into this one I definitely wanted to bring some tools to sort of deal with whatever Empire brought, and we'll kind of break things down. For my Lord choices, and this is a pretty classic setup you will see from plenty of people. Techless, of course, very competitive. He's got most of his spells, no Flaming Sword of Ruin, and no Chain Lightning, but otherwise, of course, Regrowth, Flock of Doom, Enfeebling Foe, Net, Greater Arcane Conduit, all three spells, including Kindle Flame, the main reason being that it actually synergizes really nicely with Sisters of Avernlorn, as well as the Fireborn, and then, of course, the Bound by Fiery Convocation, and Potion of Troy. He's backed by two Nobles, nothing fancy on them, they don't have any abilities, they're just on horses, and providing that anti-large AP. So that's really one side of my Empire Cav hunting force. The other side of the Empire Cav Hunters is this unit of Fireborn, and I hid him here in the woods just in case my opponent had artillery or he had some shenanigans with Outriders or anything like that. I didn't want these guys getting volleys taken early on and losing troops, so I hid him here in the woods. Monsters melee stats. I don't think they actually beat Demigryph Knights with halberds in a straight up fight, or the Royal Griff fights I think will beat these guys, but they're a little more well rounded than Demigryphs with halberds, and I actually think they beat the normal Demigryphs with halberds one-on-one. For the rest of the build, a cheap infantry line, 6 units of spearmen. So these guys, of course, are not great against Empire troops, especially not for their cost. They will hold them for a long time, though, except for maybe greatswords. But even greatswords will struggle to chew through them quickly. So the spearmen can buy you a lot of time. And that's really why we brought them here. So we've got 6 units of spearmen. They are backed by 2 Sisters of Avalon, and this is really my firepower section to deal with my opponent's greatswords, to deal with any Reiksguard, or not Reiksguard, to deal with any Demigryph Knights, to deal with enemy lords, and that sort of stuff. And of course, with their high abyssal damage, they will melt through just about everything. They of course do fire and magic damage, which means they bypass physical resist, which Empire can sometimes get. In the back, we also do have the Grey, who I wanted to try out. This is a unit I don't use out basically ever, but I figured, they might be fun. They've of course got snipes, so they can fire while cloaked, and they've got pretty monstrous melee stats for a ranged unit. And I figured if my opponent has a mortar, which is pretty common to pick, mortars and cannons, not rare against Hiles at all. Actually, you'll even see units like Hellblasters and Hellstorms sometimes. These guys can counter it. They can sneak in, get in the back, kill it, snipe it, whatever. They'll get it off the field, and I can be secure that way. Now for my opponent's build, pretty classic sort of chaff infantry heavy build. Now interesting choices in some ways. He brought Pistoliers, which I don't think are a very good choice against Hiles, just because Hiles have a lot of ways they could counter Pistoliers. And Pistoliers aren't really that good against most High Elf units, in my opinion. They'll do okay against Spearmen. They could shoot Sister of Avalorn, I guess, but I don't know. Unless you try to melee them with Illyrian Reavers, you're not going to be having too many issues with them. But for the rest of this build, Balthazar Gelt, not a rarity at all. He's got Final Transmutation, the Steel Rain, Searing Doom, Metal Shifting, and Arcane Conduit, and Staff of Lawn. So a lot of Winds of Magic, looking probably to just chip me down with Final Transmutation and be a nuisance that way. For the front line, my opponent has a mix of greatswords backed by a Warrior Priest, so very elite in comparison to what my front line looks like. A bunch of greatswords who are immediately getting slagged here by the Sister Fire. They're backed by Warrior Priest, who of course does have that magic resistant AoE. He does have the Grand Hammer of Sigmar, or sorry, the Hammer of Sigmar, which is a huge melee attack buff, and Benediction, as well as Banner of Eternal Flame. So a lot of buffs here, a lot of potential to do a lot of damage. So a lot of lots there, but a lot of potential here to do some work. Sigmar Suns here, some spears on the flanks, just to provide some additional chaff and sort of deal with the spearmen, soak up some arrows, perhaps, that sort of stuff. In the back, the Silver Bullets providing some Overwatch support. And on either flank, we do have units of Reiksguard. So a unit of Reiksguard over there, and I do believe... Was it only one? No, there was 2 units of Reiksguard. There we go. So over here, you can't see my opponent is going to hit me with a Final Transmutation, which will, I do believe, doesn't hit anything except Techless, because I separated him from the Nobles. And you can see I actually managed to net my opponent down, which is going to hit these guys with Kindle Flame. And the Sisters of Averlorn here are actually going to melt these greatswords. They're going to get completely melted. My opponent has no healing, which is bad for him. And now the Sisters of Averlorn are going to shift target and start melting these greatswords. So you can see Net of Mintok going down, Flock of Doom going down. It's not optimized against units like greatswords, but it'll do some damage. And especially with Teclis's massive Winds of Magic, it'll do okay. You can see these greatswords definitely taking a beating, losing quite a bit of HP there. And the Sisters of Averlorn fire, although they're wasting a little bit on the greatswords there, will continue pouring in. Anytime in the front, spears getting engaged by swords. Like I said, it'll take forever for my opponent to do anything. Teclis and the nobles camp it in the back, and my opponent does have these silver bullets, but they really don't have anything to do here. They can't really do much. So basically, right now, essentially things are looking okay for me. The Pistoliers are trying to be a nuisance, sniping away at Teclis, but I'm zoning them out with spears, using my Fireborn to push out. They're getting peppered from those Pistoliers, but they're able to get in on these Reichsguard, which is bad for my opponent. The Reichsguard don't get their charge off. The Fireborn get a bit of a haggard charge in there. They're going to start slaughtering these Empire Knights pretty efficiently with their monstrous anti-large bonus of 18. With Teclis diving in there to provide support, they're not going to have a good day. And you can see the Spears here just zoning out these Pistoliers. You can see the Nobles actually chasing these Reichsguard. And if we look at the backline, you can see Balthazar Geld, good old Barfazar there, actually getting in. But my opponent, the Greatswords, have taken a massive beating. Over here, the Grey slaughtering these Greatswords, making them shatter. This unit of Greatswords broken. And although this unit of Greatswords snuck through, and there's a unit tied down over here by the Spears, my opponent is definitely not in the greatest position right now. His cavalry is getting slaughtered here in the pits. I do hit these Reichsguard with Enfeebling Foe, making him much more susceptible. And you can see with Teclis, he's just going to waltz away, go help deal with these annoying Pistoliers, zone them off. And the Reichsguard, you know, they're losing. Fireborn getting chipped away at by Pistoliers, not the end of the world. Who cares? I might lose a model here or there, but it doesn't really matter. So I do pull Teclis back, get some damage in on those Reichsguard. And the Sisters of Averlorn are just fleeing for dear life from the Greatswords. They've only lost 4 and 2 models, so not the end of the world there. That very wide spearman line and the reserves we have here, this is why it's important to keep reserves, guys, but that very wide line is helping me sort of keep my opponent bottled up, prevent him from pushing through, and preventing him from getting huge value here, just breaching my front line quickly or anything like that. I mean, the Sisters are actually just going to turn out and start melting these Pistoliers, unlike a lot of other AP units, and this is actually one of those hidden perks of them, I think. Now, their missile damage isn't high just because of the rate of fire. It's actually high because they've got a decent non-AP missile damage. This isn't something great against a heavily armored target, but against Pistoliers it actually means that they do a lot of damage to squishy units, where, say, a normal AP unit like, say, handguns might not be as good relative to its cost. Still, these guys are very expensive for what they do, but, you know, against Pistoliers they'll do a little better. My opponent's Greatswords here getting mucked up by the Spears. Nothing fancy there. And you can see we do get a little bit of a fiery convocation here, roasting some Empire State troops, passing right behind the Spears, and roasting a little bit of the Sigmar Sun. So basically, I've been managing to muck up my opponent's troops. You can see these troops, the Spearmen tied down. Here. The Greatswords breaching, but then getting caught in the Spears. So all in all, things looking pretty good. And unfortunately for me, though, my opponent diving in on Teclis and being very, very annoying. So the Fireborn here sitting around being sad. The Nobles pulling out, trying to save good old Teclis. You can see the Pistoliers are doing quite a bit of damage on the Sisters, but there's just too many. The Sisters, even boxed up like this, where they're easy targets to be shot, they're going to do a lot of work. And you can see they're just melting these Pistoliers. The Fireborn aren't coming in to zone them off. And as long as I can keep these Greatswords from getting onto my Sisters, which is really the key here, I'll be okay now. My Fireborn do try to zone these guys away, but I'm forced to go save Teclis, who's almost dead. He actually routes the Balthazar. But we do get a surround on Balthazar here, and Balthazar having a terrible day. He's now trapped. He's only got 50 armor, and he's having a very bad time. Now the Sisters, in the meantime, disengage, pull back. They're going to be able to reposition and open new shots on my foes. And you can see the Spears have actually routed the Grey here, providing support from range, melting these Spearmen from behind. Elves, of course, don't rout very easily, so even these Spears are losing and dying pretty horribly. Will hold the line for a bit, and you can see the Grey just pouring fire and melting those Spears. And the Sisters are going to turn around now. They're going to pivot and start shooting into the silver bullets. Once again, that extra non-AP damage going to help them a little bit. The Pistoliers routed. Teclis actually rallies, hits the Potion of Troy just to get that healing, and he's in good shape. And now, although it might look grim because my Sisters everyone have gotten slaughtered and most of my front line is buckling, we've only got a handful of haphazard Spears here and there, I'm actually in a really good spot. The Nobles here wiping out the Reichsguard. They trade really well against units like Reichsguard, and they're just slaughtering them and leaving him in full retreat here. I still have a very healthy unit over here, Fireborn. We're piling into the silver bullets here, which you can see the poor Empire State troops getting slaughtered. I absolutely love the look, and I'm not a big High Elf fan or an Elf fan in general, but the Fireborns look so cool. Just look at these guys with their burn-in lances and their awesome-looking armor plate, and they just look awesome. And so they're going to run over these poor silver bullets. The silver bullets actually are holding surprisingly well, morale-wise, but they are going to break. And you can see over here the gray actually pushing into melee to mop these troops up. At this point, it's going to be essentially GG. My opponent pushing in with the warrior priest, trying to get these great swords into engagement range, but the sisters just pouring fire, melting his HP away, and they're going to simply retreat as the nobles turn around to come help. So at this point, my opponent is going to GG out, as his army is essentially gone. I do believe I missed Balthasar getting killed, but he did die, you can see. So, is this a good build against Empire? I don't know. I think it is, personally. If your opponent goes heavy on artillery, you might want to be a little more cautious. Make sure the gray gets value and kills the artillery batteries if you can. Your opponent will probably hide some cavalry, have some troops covering the back line, but usually the gray with its great range can get some value and kill them pretty efficiently, kill the enemy artillery. Otherwise, you can try bolt throwers, but with the changes to Empire cannons, they're a little less effective. Bolt throwers can actually get counter batteried pretty efficiently by Empire now, which is something to watch out for. As for the rest of the Sister of Avalon, getting some massive value, the spear is just holding. So that's the nice thing. You get 6 spears, so you've got a lot of holding power. You've got a lot of staying power. If your opponent brings cav heavy, he's got to get around all these spears. He's got to get around Fireborn. He's got to get around Nobles. He's got to get around Teclis and his nets. So you've got a lot of shutdown there. Sisters of Avalon are just able to melt enemy units with their fire. Two of these units of Greatswords got literally nothing done. And the sisters also melted these pistoliers. They helped melt down the silver bullets to an extent. They were doing a great job all over. So really some good value there. The spears for them, the spears did what they had to do. The Fireborn, great job shutting down my opponent's heavy cav and then running down the silver bullets. And the nobles and Teclis, of course, doing an okay job in their own right. Now for my opponent's build, not necessarily a bad one actually. Sir Myth's build here, I actually think it's decent against high elves. If I was going to make any suggestions, if you're going to go for greatsword spam, which I've shown in some of my videos, and I think it's perfectly viable, a suggestion I'd make is to get a mortar in here. You can't always guarantee. Now, depending on how your opponent sets up his shooting contingent, how he brings his infantry, you might need your Reichsguard to be helping to deal with enemy infantry if your opponent say brings Swordmasters or even White Lions. You might want your Reichsguard. Your opponent might just have too much shooting to shut down. He might have too many spears to shut down. Reichsguard can't exactly just run amok over enemy cavalry. So I would try to get a mortar in there, and I would try to get Demigryph Knights with halberds in there. That would be really my two main suggestions. Drop these pistoliers. They're not worth it. They're not that good. Cut a spear or two. You don't have to go double warrior priest if you don't want to. I think that's perfectly fine, but I'd try to get a mortar and a unit of Demigryph Knights with halberds in there just to get some anti-large armor piercing and some sort of splash and disruption. Otherwise, great game to my opponent. I had a lot of fun, and I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. If you have any comments, any criticism, any questions, anything like that, be sure to share them down below, and I will respond as soon as I can. As usual, guys, I do appreciate you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one. Wyvern out.